Hello Jammers, welcome to Istanbul Bilgi University. My name is Nuri Kara, I am the head of the Digital Game Design Department. We are hosting Global Game Jam this year, and previously we already hosted 5 times Game Jam in Istanbul Bilgi University, so we wanted to use our experience in Global Game Jam. And today, in this 1-hour session, we will talk about people from industry and academia, and we will talk about digital games, gamification, the situation in industry, so all of them. So my first guest is Öznur. Hello Öznur, welcome.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm great, and you?
I'm fine. Could you describe yourself firstly?
Sure. I'm a Spanish teacher in Bilgi University, and right now I'm also doing my master's at game design program at Bahçeşehir University. And I am kind of an expert on gamification so far. I'm just trying to
I
be
think
actually.
It's a very popular area, gamification,
Right now, yes.
especially in
Yes.
education.
Especially in education, and I'm a teacher, so it became my passion right now because I have fun doing games. I have fun creating games, and while doing it, I also can combine it with education. It is a great field for me right now.
And probably you're also practicing it. So
yes.
At school or at classroom based, do you have any kind of specific experiences, or can you give some examples?
Actually, right now, I'm also going on with the college. At the college, I'm using Classcraft. And it is a great program for class management. And also, my students have some characters, just like World of Warcraft. They can level up, they can buy gear, they can buy armor and guns. I'm sorry about that, weapons. And unfortunately, but it is how we engage them. It is very important for them because the times are changing and we are innovating things right now. We have to innovate because it is a different time. All the students right now have every kind of electronic device and they are online all the time. And we should be able to keep up with them. It is really hard for them to just come into the class and sit down and just look at the teacher. It is really, really hard. And even when I think of it, I feel bored.
Yes.
But if I have to stay in a class and just listen to the teacher and just that, it is really boring for the students. So that is why I want to change the environment a little bit. And by doing it with gaming, they are very, very engaged. They are very happy to be in my class. And right now, I'm very happy with gamification.
Yes, there are also some debates. Gamification is different from game-based learning or using games in education.
Gamification is like taking something very boring, just applying the general rules of the games to the game, to the activity that is boring. And it is not exactly gaming. But game-based learning is a little bit different than that. It is like if you are outside of the class and if you are using it at home or you are doing it by yourself and you are just playing a game and while doing it you are learning something, then yes, it is game-based learning. But if I am teaching it in the class and I am using some game elements, then it is gamification.
Yes, I think that's the definition also. We can go from there.
Yes.
The definition of the gamification is using game elements in non-game context.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
that's I think that definition describing this gamification easily. So we talk about game elements, especially for learners, young children, or at school-based level. We can use some leaderboards in gamification or levels or avatars, points. So what do you think about it?
The thing is, there are some pre-made programs that you can use. So you are not creating everything yourself in the class. But also, if you are going to do it on paper, then it is okay. You can do it that way also. You don't have to use technology all the time. You can just put up a paper on the board, and you can just say, okay, I'm just going to give points to everyone, and the one that gets the most points will win the game. And then they are motivated because they think that there's a race and they can be successful at something and better than the others. It is not like we are just challenging them to be better all the
Yes.
time with gamification. But normally in the class, they don't feel that way.
Yes.
They are
I think
bored.
the important thing is how you can apply gamification in classrooms. So
Yeah.
we cannot give digital games to the learners for 40 minutes. That's not possible.
not
So
possible.
how you
It's
can
not possible.
integrate by using pedagogical principles or other strategies?
The thing
That's
is,
the important thing. I
yeah,
think.
the thing is, there are some class management programs that are gamified, and that might be Class Dojo or Classcraft, or there are many of them. You can use Kahoot. It is not a class management program, but you can use that also. And I use Classcraft personally because my students are age appropriate. That is why I let
How old
them.
are they, by the way?
They're middle schoolers,
Middle school
so
students.
they're all very into gaming, as you can imagine. And with Classcraft, they have the chance to become someone else in the class. So they have a character, they have to use that character, they have to be better at this character. And I create some quests. And with those quests, they can be on a journey and go from one point to another. And they have fun doing it. And they also use it at home. And they have to do the research that I ask them to do, because they want to be better with their characters and they want to just go on with their journey. But there are some problems that we face, of course. This educational system in Turkey is
I
different.
think we need some content in our native language also, because students want to see that gamified technologies or gamification examples in their own language. So we need to increase the number of that Turkish-based gamification systems.
Exactly. We need, of course, I'm a Spanish teacher, so I use it in Spanish. But there are many lessons that they have to do in Turkish. So if there would be any application that is in Turkish, that would be great for them, because they have sometimes difficulty in understanding the concepts in English. So it would be great.
It would be great.
But we have some problems with, of course, the plans. There's a curriculum you have to continue all the time. And when you put gamification in the class, you don't always go according to the plan. So sometimes that creates some problems.
So can we say that if you want to apply gamification or digital gamification, firstly we need to give training to teachers?
Exactly. They need training, because if you just get lost in it, then you might not be able to finish your plans, curriculum. So that would be a problem.
I think we can also use toys or digital toys in gamification. We created a smart toy and we used RFID text. We inserted these texts into plush toys, and when the children put that toys onto RFID reader, the visual image of that toy appeared on the screen. So, for instance, children put the soap on the reader and the character in the visual screen started to wash his or her hands. So we can also use this kind of real characters, integrating these characters into the virtual ones. It can also help, especially for young learners.
Of course.
Digital gamification is a very popular area, and it's going to be popular too.
Yes.
And we need to improve and increase the numbers of this content, especially.
Exactly. In the future, it is a possibility that they won't be needing us anymore. So I won't be a teacher probably. But I'm happy with the way things are going right now. And there are some dinosaurs. So that might create some problems, but in the future, I don't know, in 10 years of time, probably we will have some open-minded people in the industry that is going to help us do that.
Thank you very much. It
Thank
was
you.
a very nice talk.
Yeah, it was a very nice talk, and we are going to continue with another
With
guest
another
right
guest.
now.
I'm leaving now.
Yes.
The new guest is coming.
Okay.
See you then.
See you. And we are going to continue with Hayat Taşkın.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
So we meet again in another place. It's such a cool place.
Yes, it
I
is.
like the campus. So.
I'm having so much fun right now.
Yeah, exactly.
So, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah,
please?
long story short, I'm the lighting artist for Tattoo Creative Studios. We're working on a featured film project right now, combined with in-game shots and scenes. And this is my 5th year. I'm working on the games now. So
Okay.
this is the brief summary of it. You know, I like to talk so much, but I
Oh,
want
yeah,
to keep
I
it
know.
short somehow.
We are normally doing our masters together.
Yeah.
So we were at the same class, so we know each other
That's
very
all.
well.
Unfortunate for you.
No, don't say that. Sorry. Right now, I want to talk about the situation in education of game design, and since I'm in the educational background, so what do you think about the education about game design in Turkey? How is it going so far?
Yeah, it's going good so far. I'm following the education in game design since I'm also studying it for like 3-4 years now. And it's rapidly growing. It's like specializing in different places now. It's just not like the game design, but now you can specialize in the art, in programming, in many different fields now.
Yeah.
And here in Bilgi University, in our university, Bahçeşehir University, the things are growing and more people is becoming educated in that place. Thinking about the education of game design, since my background is from visual arts, I think it's almost the same thing, because I can say, in my opinion, game is somehow an art. It has a multidisciplinary side of it. It has the scientific approach. It has the, how to say, like the art thing. And my job as a lighting artist is in between, you know, in a scientific way, in a technical part, the art part. And in academic thing, someone experienced can kick you up in that thing. I mean, after I moved to Istanbul for studying, I met with many people. I met people from different companies, famous companies, people here, and this keep adding me up, and I feel like it's really added me up.
Okay. There is this question all over the place, like, is it really necessary? The education is really necessary in this field. What do you think? I think it is necessary, right? If I weren't in the university, in the masters, I wouldn't meet people. I wouldn't see the other sides of it. It was like, I'll be a game designer. So what does game designer mean?
Sure, yeah.
Most of the students don't know anything about that. That
Exactly.
is a great problem.
Actually, that was the thing that I want to say. But I'm not thinking the same way exactly as you do, because in the art part of this thing, it's up to your portfolio in most of the parts. So you can develop yourself. What I believe, for not just for the game design, it's for all disciplines, all, you know, difference of engineering maybe also, that university or the place that you're studying gives you, like, let's say 10, 12, let's say 30% on what you should do. But you need to practice, you need to work and study by yourself to learn everything. Studying somewhere makes a kickstart for you. As you said, like, I saw many young friends of me, young students coming to me, hey, I want to be a game designer. And in the first question I'm asking to them, so what do you want to be?
Exactly.
Do you want to be a level designer? Do you want to be a lighting artist? Do you want to be a
don't know.
prop artist?
Yeah.
And they specializing? Is there something like that? And I'm saying, of course. I
They
mean,
think like they're going to do everything at the same time. Like they're going to do the sound, they're going to do
actually, when I first
everything.
started, I was doing the
thinking
same.
that
I mean,
way.
I was thinking,
thinking
okay,
that
I can
way.
do that. I can draw. I can program somehow. I can do that. But after like 1 month, I was like, okay, it's not
It
how
doesn't work
exactly
that
it
way, yeah.
sounds. So
It doesn't work that way.
it's not easy as it looks. But definitely, it's like starts
Yeah,
something.
the social part is very important.
Exactly. Also,
because-
good
yeah.
point. As I mentioned earlier, you're meeting with people, even the professors that you're studying together adds you up. It is really something. It sounds simple, but you understand
is
it
very
after
important,
you
yeah.
really go inside.
It is very, very important because, of course, there are some indie groups that you can join, and I recommend them to join them beforehand because you don't know what you're going to do in the university. It's like if you're doing your master's when you come, if you don't know anything about the field, then you're lost. that is definite. It was for me. It was that way for me.
Actually,
also for the college degree. What do you think? Is it better to take the college degree, or is it better to do something different in the IT field?
Actually, it is a difficult question to answer because, as I mentioned, my degree is different, and I'm working professionally now by the things that I learned there and combined with our degree now. So studying game design is something different from studying like visual arts or computer engineering. But considering that there is a department that's giving this education completely, it is better to study game design because that time you are gonna like, how to tell, you're gonna be studying design, specifically specialized in game design.
Exactly.
You're not going to learn the things that you're not doing in, let's say, your special area. For example, I study like graphic design, traditional graphic design and traditional arts thing. I'm using their theories now, but I'm not using them 100%. But if you're studying in a, let's say, game-oriented degree, then you're going to take the things that you're going to use in game design.
Exactly.
So it's a slight difference, but I mean, in both ways, it's beneficial.
And about the definition, for example, when you say that I'm studying game design, people think that you're just going to do coding or you're just going to create
I have
3D
even
art.
worse scenarios that people think that I'm making toys.
Yeah,
So
exactly. You're making toys. They're
I need
thinking
to
that
add
way.
digital games there.
And about the program structures, what do you think about them? It's like they're enough for having an experience about game design, or
There is no end to that, actually, because it is, again, multidisciplinary area and does not have an end. We get used to, let's say, the exposure-based lighting, and now RTX is coming. So it don't have any boundaries, anything.
That
So
is the most important
also the
part,
programs
actually.
need to update themselves all the time.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
for example, I was in contact in some of the academies in the United States before I came to Istanbul. And their degrees are like divided in different specializations like art and production and programming. And thinking in that way, if the program's keeping just game design and try to give everything in a general level, the student's gonna be staying in the general in everything.
Yeah.
But if they let these students to specialize in what they want to do, then they will get general from everything, the general knowledge of everything, and will be specialized in a specific place. And I always keep telling that, okay, what I believe the best way to work in the industry, to be really good in what you're doing and know the relative stuff just enough to speak the same language with the people that you're working.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's really important, and the communication is really important in the field.
Exactly,
So
exactly.
also in school, what can be added up, it's good, this group projects teaches you
Exactly.
how to work with the people in bad way, in good way. You're gonna fail in some places,
Most
and the
important-
failure is the good, actually good teacher.
The most important thing is that they should learn how to play well with the group.
Exactly.
That is very important because it's
Exactly.
not a solo job. You are not going to do it yourself. You are not going to do
Exactly.
everything. You are not going to decide everything yourself. At these game jams, we have seen different
Yeah,
examples
yeah,
before.
and there is good example of me. Like, it's really recent, like 1.5 months ago, when I was working in the lighting for Özgür Dünya. One of our friends, was a cinematic artist doing the animation stuff, came in and, hey man, would you rather doing that thing? Because it's like giving blah, blah, blah. And gave me an impression of something else. I was like, I didn't think it that way.
Okay.
And when we tried that thing, it worked. If I was to be in the ego place, no, I'm the lighting artist, you don't know anything. And then we would miss the opportunity to make
Exactly.
something better. The people who want to work in this field should know that this is a teamwork. And
Exactly.
whenever you are good, maybe you are a god, you're something like really someone that could not really reach. Even if you cannot, just let's say you are not be able to work in a group, you're nothing.
Yeah, you are nothing.
You
cannot
might
do
have
anything.
a perfect portfolio, just that's it.
It
That's it.
doesn't-
Nobody would want to work with you.
And also at the same time, while they are doing their degree, they should be joining indie groups. I can't define the importance of this because it's
Exactly.
like if you don't have any industry experience, the things that you're going to learn in the school won't be enough. It is impossible because it is ever growing, it is evergreen, and you cannot just keep up with the things that you are going to use in the future.
And there is another thing is that I saw from many young friends, and they just, you have to tell, they're not going and speaking with the people experience. They should do that.
Okay.
They should be doing it.
They should be doing it. Okay, we are going to
Yes,
continue with another guest.
Yeah.
So right now I'm leaving you.
So I'm gonna catch you up after
Okay.
the interview. So,
Okay.
so
See you.
see you. So now we continue with Mr. Ertuğrul Süngü from Bilgi University again. So,
Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Good, you?
I'm fine, thanks.
So let's start with introducing you.
You would introduce yourself, so okay.
I already
like you
introduced
said, like
myself,
long
so-
story short, I'm at the same time working in the industry and at the same time working in the academia. So in the industry, it's been like 12 years. I'm an editor and writer in the Level magazine and Chip Online in Turkey, because as you know, like the Chip, it's also
Yeah, I
a
was following
German
that.
mark. And I'm on the lecture right in the Bilgi University and the Bahçeşehir University. I'm giving the classes like the games and culture, and let's see complex game mechanics and games and narrative, which I would like to talk about today. And we also create a new class, established actually the new class as a game journalism. So it's a game criticism. It was the first time in Turkey. And then now we have a new establishment in the Bilgi University. We call it an Alt Lab. Is an innovative laboratory with the whole VRs and ARs, and is an interdisciplinary area. And I'm a coordinator of that place, so I'm working a lot actually. So,
So like,
basically-
as you mentioned, it, all these things, the industry is going further and further, just like we spoke with Özgür right now. The things are changing, but what I believe, the core of the thing is staying there. The aesthetics, the narrative, the atmosphere, the feel is always there. So what do you think about the changing technology on these aesthetics and feelings and narratives? on game
Yes,
design?
you can read this in my dissertation, which I'm going to finish it at the
Fortunately,
end.
I'll
but
be able to work on my thesis for masters.
I'm writing a lot of the narration part of this thing. Yes, you are right. Things are changing, but at the same time, they're not. It's really different, you know. It's hard to explain. But like I always telling my students that they already missed the golden era of the gaming industry. According to me, maybe it's going to change in the future, but right now I'm thinking that way because like 1995 till 2001 maybe was the golden age, golden era of the gaming
And
industry.
still they're remastering
and
these games
yes,
of that
there
era.
is, see, like I mean,
Yeah.
it's a really good example about, for example, we are remastering the games. So it has to be a reason, you know, like, and we know the reason, like, because they were great. And, or we are playing the continuous games, like, I mean, the 1, 2, 3, 4, like, you know, the numbers are still continue. And it's happened again, for example, with the Assassin's Creed franchise. And about the narrative part, like, are you interested with the role-play games, by the
Yeah, I
way?
do.
Are you playing the
I do.
tabletop games?
Not the D&D kind of stuff, but
Okay.
the digital part. Because I'm from Cyprus and there are not too much D&D
Never
culture there.
ever played the role-play games
Actually-
on the tabletop?
I do, I
Really?
do, but
Which game?
not too much. Let me think. Really good question. Because as I said, I'm not like
Like
fluent
it's a
in these games.
D20 system, right?
Yeah.
You roll the dice.
Yeah,
out of
you roll the
20?
dice.
Oh, okay.
But I'm more like fluent in the digital versions of
What
that.
was the digital game? So I can combine everything to
So
the
like
digital.
the classics, the Baldur's Gate,
Baldur's Gate 1,
and
2?
1 and 2,
Okay.
and let's say Diablo is not exactly as it is, but
Okay.
let's say Diablo and
That's
Icewind
like
Dale.
Yeah, Icewind Dale,
and
sure.
What else?
Lately, for example, Divinity.
Lately, Divinity and Pillars of
It's
Eternity.
an amazing game.
Amazing. Divinity is really good.
Both the Pillars of Eternities. First
Actually,
and
I started with advice of Mr. Barbaros Bostanmay.
Yeah,
Actually,
of course.
Yeah,
Why
he's
not?
a
Like-
fan of that game,
Yeah.
and he told me you should play that.
Yeah, of
And
course.
I started with the first one, but due to my work and due to my busy
know.
schedule, I couldn't be able to
Yes,
play
yes, yes.
too much. But I'm planning to finish the
Nice.
first one and then the second one.
Okay, so it's nice. See, like I mean, we still have the RPG genre on the scene. I mean, the CRPGs, which we call the computer RPGs, which means at the same time the tabletop turned into the digital form of the tabletop in a way. Yeah, I mean, to try to answer your question, it's the first step. Like, see, they still exist. They're still around here. They're still publishing. For example, lately we have the Atom RPG made by the Russians. It's a really amazing game. It's just published, and it's all based on the Fallout 1 and 2. So if you already know the Fallout 1 and 2 and the group system, so you're going to be a fan of it.
I'll check it out.
Which is a second sign. Now they produce a new game which based on the old RPG systems. You know, like it all started in the first steps, let's say, about the RPG genre. Started with the 74, and then they published the books in the 76, and then is the, you know, the explosion. The first edition of the D&D and the second edition, and then the 2000s, third edition and third and a half.
Going on and
And
on
then
and
they
on.
made a really huge mistake, and they published the fourth edition because they thought everything should be like in the World of Warcraft genre, like the tank and the healer in the
DPS
background.
and
You
so-
know, like they think. So this is the another good example, because the people who produce these games in the Wizards of the Coast, they think and they thought in a way the video gaming genre is a thing that can change the, you know, the RPG genre, but it wasn't, because, you know, because
the
the
same, the core.
RPG is a different thing, because all the MMORPGs made based on the RPGs on the tabletop, you know, like,
Exactly.
and they made a huge mistake, and they, you know, they were nearly going to bankrupt in a way. So, and then they made the fifth edition at the end. They found a solution. They listened to people, and they literally look around and what kind of people now want to play this game on the tabletop. And then they create the fifth edition, which is a great.
And isn't it an important thing to listen up the people who's going to play?
Sure, sure.
They want to have an experience in these games. They want, actually, the game design is creating an experience for the people. So they should be listening. So they did a great job of listening to the people.
That is the part of the narrative between the power play. You know, like some people thinking about the RPGs, and I mean the people who is much more younger than me, like born after the 1995. I don't know, like the 2000s. I don't know what they're thinking about the tabletop RPG, but people are generally thinking about it. It's a power play game, but no, it's actually is a dramatic supplement game. You know, like you should act. Your acting gives you some bonuses to play the game, and the narrator, the DM in an old term, a dungeon master, or the GM is a new term, like a game master. They should really lead the game in a really, you know.
So it's a good thing for the people who want to enter this realm of game design. That being a dungeon master is a difficult thing, and to create the world is a good thing to start by. Actually,
yes, and it is the narration itself. You know, if you find a good narrator, and if you have a nice story, then it can carry on. You know, like it has been always like this, and then it's turned into the online. I mean, the first one, the digital, and then the online version of it. So the narration is still continuing. Again, I'm still trying to answer your question,
So
but it is hard. Like, you know, like it's a huge deal. Like we can talk about it till morning.
So actually, like I want to continue with this one. Speaking with the aesthetics, we started with the RPG genre. Let's continue with that.
Sure.
So the traditional RPGs are still continuing, and now the action RPG is a popular genre also.
Sure.
Like many games are now using these things, combining with a more modern, let's say, fast-paced gaming to the traditional RPG elements. So again, it is changing. Kind of changing, let's say, the gameplay, but the experience still the same, having the same aesthetic. And by saying aesthetic in the art thing, the people keep telling that aesthetic is making it look good, feel good. And what I humbly think that it's not just about how it looks. Narrative is also an aesthetic, because it makes this experiment feel good. So what can you tell about how would you describe, let's say, the aesthetic of narrative or narration?
And a good example is going to be, I guess, The Witcher 3. Have you played the game?
I do.
Isn't that amazing?
Still playing it.
It's still playing,
amazing.
like
It's
more than 100 hours.
One
of
of my favorite in the decade.
So you can also see in The Witcher 3, I guess, with the aesthetic and the gameplay.
In the gameplay.
What do you think? For example, I can ask you the same question, I think. For example, I'm always using this because The Witcher 3 has been published in the 19 May 2015. I remember exactly. I'm really good with the dates. So, and for example, I'm still giving some examples about The Witcher 3 in my classes because it's really nice. It's for the narrative, for the
Really good
aesthetic, for the
execution.
gameplay,
Exactly.
the music, everything. It's literally the game design itself, for example. Like, you know, you were just talking and what you said, like it's an interdisciplinary department. So what it does, was this like, you know, like Witcher 3 did the whole thing, the music, again, the narrative, the aesthetic, the
visuals
art, the programming.
think the magic is coming from a really good teamwork, really good chemistry of the team at first, and then they mastered the things in such a way that it's like a puzzle. They're fitting exactly.
Definitely.
Let's say the visuals are fitting the world.
Yes.
The world is having a really good narrative from Andrzej Sapkowski's books. They combined it with good questing and mechanics. So they are having a good mechanical part. They're having a good aesthetic, artistic part.
Sure.
And then the game design part is really good. So when you enter this world, you're really going to somewhere else. And I think this is an aesthetic game because it feels good. It also, not that it looks good, games looks good, but in this context, saying it looks good is like an underestimated thing. But the game feels good. That makes the game an aesthetic game for me, actually.
Like, I mean, I can say only one word about their aesthetic value. Like, I mean, as a game developers, as a company, they were the good observers, I guess. They observe everything really good. I mean, in the real life and in a digital world. Like, but they
also, to interrupt you, they also observe the books in a really good way.
Definitely.
They are like giving the books in such a good way and develop the feel of the book in such a good way that it's now a multi-billion franchise.
Yes, of course. Like, I mean, they did everything about the game, and now they're preparing for the new game, or the Cyberpunk game. So, like, I mean, again, for the Cyberpunk, if you watched anything about the Cyberpunk, it's all about aesthetic value. Like,
it was also a tabletop game, by the way.
Yeah, it was.
It was like 2033, something like that. The name was different, I guess.
Tabletop game. Okay, the numbers.
I don't remember really.
But yes, it was a tabletop game. They turned, like, for example, again, one other answer to your first question, like, see, we're still making games anew. You know, we're still bound to old tabletop RPG core rule mechanics, you know, and we turn them into the different and new games. But in the background, the same mechanics are still working. We only have the polished, new, visualized world. So that's all.
So we're just building on top of a good foundation. So the technology couldn't change human being. So I guess technology is not gonna change the values and the things and the basics that we have, it seems.
Yeah, apparently. And like, see, and now we should ask a question of how we put the narrative into today's video games. I mean, I'm still asking this question because it's not all about the puzzling and only the questing and the following this quest and complete the quest and find the side quest. No, it's not all about this, you know. Like, see again the same examples of World of Warcraft. Like, how many people really read the quests? No, there's only people like you're taking and accept and go, accept and go. You don't know what's happening.
Actually, the game design thing is they were planning something different while planning the game. So again, it's a combination of these two. So let's conclude the topic that way. We're gonna continue with another show.
Okay,
so
okay.
It's
We
time
should
for me
talk.
to
Like,
leave.
after
So
that,
it's
we
time
should
for me
talk.
to
I
leave.
mean,
So again,
nice to meet you too. Like, so now we are continue with the Mr. Nuri.
Hello Arturo, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm
Everything's
fine.
okay?
Like, we know each other for a
Yes,
long
of
time. It's
course.
been like 2 years, right?
Nearly 2 years.
Nearly 2 years, 1.5 years, I guess. Like, yeah, okay. Welcome.
So in this part of the session, it's going to be the last part, and we can talk about the current situation of digital gaming in Turkey. I think we can start with some kind of numbers maybe. In the global market, I think the numbers or average prices of the digital games nearly $150 billion, and in Turkey it's approaching to $1 billion. So it's a very big growing trend. So what do you think about that?
Yes, it's growing, and like you talked before, it's growing and it's going to be grow apparently, and it's going to continue like this. So it's been. They just released the numbers, like now it's a double time. Like when you compare with the 2018, it's double the numbers. So it's really amazing. So like I didn't know that. Like I knew it, but I didn't know that at the same time. You know, like I can't. It's hard to calculate what's happening. I see like lots of different companies. People are really trying to do something about the games, but they're appearing and then suddenly they're disappearing. And we heard some game they sold too much, but we don't know the exact number, and suddenly they released the numbers like a week ago or something like that. So yes, it's, it's
In our classes, we are trying to say our students, yes, there is a very big gap and
Sure.
very big need, so
Sure.
you need to be placed in this area and you need to produce projects,
Definitely.
especially game projects, while taking courses. I always suggest that our students or all students in the global world, if they are in the digital game area, they need to produce projects. Yes.
Definitely.
Before graduating, if you increase the number of that game projects in their portfolios, when they try to find a job after graduating, it can be easy for them. So this, I think, the critical point.
Yes, definitely. Because many of our students, if you're talking about the educational part, like many of the students think that like when they graduate, they're going to find a job immediately because there's a huge gap. But it's a yes and no situation. Yes, most probably you can find a job, but at the same time, if someone else did a great, better job than you, they're going to find a job.
Yep.
So it's a race. Like it's not all about the digital game design. I guess it's about being a good student and I'm producing something.
In other disciplines too, yes.
Yes,
We
definitely.
can cover it. So VR and AR technology is also popular, although VR headsets are very popular. I know that, but I think you can use it only for maximum 20 minutes.
It depends on which. First of all, yes, there are some restrictions. It's first of all, it's about you. Like I can use the same device like an hour, but maybe you are only going to use it for like a 20 minutes. It depends on the people, first of all.
Yes, but in average, I can
And yes,
compare
like
with the very
20
beginning
20 to
technologies
30.
of smartphones.
Yes,
Think
but-
about it. It
yeah.
was very big.
Yes,
and it,
it
was
was.
not ergonomic. So I think it's kind of similarity.
It is similar, but at the same time, it's all about which kind of device also you are using. For example, if you are using a more simple device, I don't want to give the the names of the devices. Some of them only using tracking your hat in this scenario without any observation points. So it's really makes you dizzy. It's so simplistic. But if you have a more complex VR, so it gives you more. You feel more relaxed. So it depends on what you're using. But of course, it has to be, they have to increase their technology. It's still not, very comfy.
Not very comfortable, yes. Not easy to use maybe. So
Yes.
while improving the content, maybe we need to also focus on the technology or technical side too.
Of course.
Yep.
Sure. Of course, at the same time, people who are producing the games or whatever they produce in programs, they also demand something from the companies, as long as there are no demands, they're going to stand still, so nothing going to improve. But they're improving, each new devices on the VR technology, they find something new, and the interaction is changing, and that the dizziness feeling is decreasing, so it's nice.
When we look at the Turkish games, I think when we go back to 1980s, 85,
Okay.
90s, so we saw that national heroes or that figures were very popular in Turkish digital games. So is it still valid when we look at the Turkish games, or what do you think about the future, about Turkish games?
About the Turkish games, yes, again, apart from the digital games, we always have a huge connection with our heritages. Our history is a little complex. There's still debates whether we are Turks or Ottomans. It's all a debate by itself. So we really like to portray it from for example, the well-known figures is the Ottoman Janissaries. So whenever you turn your head, you can find a figure, like a heroic figure about that. But it's changing because at the beginning from the 90s till the middle of the 90s, people are produced different kind of games, different kind of approaches. For example, we had the Inspector Storm or something like that, if we turned into English, like Detective Fırtına in Turkish. So it was all about adventure because in that period, the adventure games was really popular. So it was really much more easier to produce the game.
I think in close time, Mount and Blade.
So
also
of course, Mount and
gained very
Blade,
popularity.
of course, it was a worldwide success.
Yes,
and
of
now
course.
people are waiting for the following game, and it's been a while, and we would really like to learn when they're going to publish it. And it was a kind of the first of all, it was yes question, and now it's changed. Now we are producing different games. For example, again, an easiest example should be like the Conarium, for example, from the Shamli brothers. They made a game based on H.P. Lovecraft. So it's out of the context, like they said when they produced the first games, first H.P. Lovecraft themed game in like 2007, and many, even the Americans, didn't know that the H.P. Lovecraft name. So it was interesting.
Yes.
So now we approach as a outsider inside their country and find
So
something
mostly
different.
also indie developers are in this field.
Of course, of
also
course.
in mobile gaming, it's very popular.
Mobile
and-
games changes everything.
Yes.
Now we do not need even characters. We only have the symbols. But the symbols, of course, we also related as a characters. But we do not have typical, how shall I say, Turkish approach because we do not need to. So, but it is changing. Now we have really different approaches because I guess we understand what we would like to do more, because it's always a problem of the people, not about the company or the area, but first the people should know what they want to do. Now,
Also, they need to find a kind of problem, or they need to build some similarities about the current situation of the world. I always give the same example.
Sure.
When we look at the first games like Space War, it was that the Cold War period.
Yeah, of course.
So we used the kind of stars, aliens, so kind of that objects they used in their games. So all the games in that period reflect the situation in
Of
the
course.
world also.
But the problem is for today's, if we are going to do something like this, they think people may think, and generally they are doing it, they think it's a propaganda. Like they did with the Command Conquer Generals games. It was the time of, like, how shall I say, it was the Iraq War, in the Second Iraq War. So they produced a game immediately, and they just make affections about the Americans, Chinese, and then the Iraqs. So they were all the terrorists, and suddenly,
Of course, yeah.
now people
Some
suddenly
kind
can
of
think
politics
it's
things.
become a tool for a propaganda. But yes, you're right. We should more follow the, that era, not politically and scientifically, and yes, yes, we
Maybe
should.
culturally also.
Culturally, of course. Like for example, I'm not seeing a lot of games which kind of glorify the cultural heritage. Like we need that. Like the only games pops in my mind is the Civilization series about the related with the culture. So.
But they're also going on some big problem in the world, some kind of refugees. So
For
there are
example,
several,
yes.
and most games are
Definitely.
being produced
Yes.
in that topic. So still we can also talk about these games and its effects on the culture or society.
Of course, but this creates another question, and it's another path because games has itself a culture. So now I don't know we should say is a problem or not, but there is a game subculture. Now it's also debatable as to whether the game is a subculture or not, but now the game is a subculture and it has its own path, and now it's
Of course.
references
Of
by
course.
itself, like the comics referring to the games refers to the video games, the video games to the movies, etc. It's so,
Consoles, several
like they aren't
things.
even not thinking about the reality of the world, because they have their, or we, it's also hard to create a pronoun for this, but own world, and interaction. Now the gaming industry is an interaction, its own world. So it is a different thing.
Yes, because when we look at the game design process, we can see analysis parts, storyboards,
Sure.
creating scenes, writing its stories, its different kind of narration. So of course it's a culture, but it also has effects. So we need to cover or integrate both of these dimensions.
Of course. Of course.
So also we talk about VR technologies. VR can be used in education, military, or any other discipline. So
Medicine.
medicine, everywhere. So
They already started to use this kind of things.
and the content is still very low.
Yes.
Yes.
It is interesting.
That's the problem.
Maybe it's all about the gear itself, Maybe it could be like, you remember like till 2016 there are lots of news about the Google Glass. It's going to change everything, it's going to use like this. And then I remember when I was writing about the news about how ethical is this. So now we have a
Still,
different. Now they choose. I mean, they decide what they want to produce, and now the question of being ethical. So it's really hard. It's really harsh. But I guess when that VR technology, VR devices are turned into the more smaller device or more useful devices, let's say, it's most probably going to be increased. The productions are also increased, I guess.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Thank you
You can
too.
sit down. And
Okay.
I will finish it.
Okay, I will.
Thanks. Thanks for joining us, İstanbul Bilgi University. I want to give some kind of information about our department before finishing. Digital Game Design Department in Turkey is the first department giving the undergraduate program, and this year we will give the first graduates in Turkey, so they can apply the jobs or they can work in academia in Turkey, in Europe, or everywhere in the world. And we will also publish our game projects, game.bilgi.edu.tr. You can also see all that game projects from there. Thanks for joining us again. If you want to visit Istanbul, please stop by our department. More than welcome, and see you on next Global Game Jam. Thanks.